And CNN can now project that in Vermont, as expected, Barack Obama will carry that state. In New England, 3 electoral votes. Barack Obama, we project, will win in Vermont. At the same time, John McCain will carry Kentucky once again as expected. 8 electoral votes. Not a huge surprise on either Vermont or Kentucky. We are not able to make a projection in the 4 other states that are closing all their polls at this hour right now. And some of them are battleground states: Georgia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Virginia. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be close or not close. The reason why we cannot make projections sometimes is because we simply don't have enough information, and we're not simply going to rely on the exit poll numbers that have come in. The exit poll numbers are pretty good, but they're not always perfect, so we're going to wait to see the real numbers come in before we make a projection in these 4 states. We're watching Indiana very closely because that's turned out to be a battleground state, and Virginia. Indiana and Virginia, as you know, they have not gone for a Democratic presidential candidate since 1964 when LBJ carried those states. So those are going to be very, very important in the early understanding of what's going on in this historic day in the United States. Let's check in with Soledad O'Brien and Bill Schneider. They're taking a look at exit poll numbers that are coming in. Soledad?
Right, Wolf, we'll take you right to the voter analysis board. And you'll remember earlier in the night, I said this is going to be the why board. Why someone won, why someone lost, why it's close. So this is our first opportunity to dig down that direction. Let's start with Vermont, which was called for Barack Obama. No surprise, said Wolf. Who delivered for Barack Obama?
Vermont has turned blue. Let's take a look. I hate states at the bottom of the alphabet, but here is Vermont right here.
Just because they're hard to reach.
Yes, it's a little hard to reach, but the higher the group, the higher the category on this chart, the bigger Obama's margin. Clearly, he did best among Democrats and liberals, but if you look at this chart, Obama carried every one of these constituencies. They're all blue. Men, white men, voters with and without a college degree, Catholic voters, all went for Obama. The only groups in Vermont that didn't go to Obama are the 2 red groups at the bottom, conservatives and Republicans.
Not exactly a shocker there. Take me to Kentucky, which we are calling for Senator McCain.
Okay. Kentucky is a red state here on this board. And look at this. Many red categories, best, of course, Republicans and conservatives. But interestingly, in Kentucky, men, unlike Vermont, men voted heavily for McCain, 58% over Obama. And Kentucky is a very rural and white state. Look at white voters in Kentucky. These are Appalachian whites who are always a problem for Obama. 63% of whites in Kentucky delivered for John McCain, only 36% for Obama. And rural voters in Kentucky, again, 63% for McCain, 36% Obama.
Even the 18 to 24-year-old group, which is traditionally Obama territory.
Look, they went narrowly. They split their vote, 50% for McCain, 48% for Obama. This is, most states is an Obama category. In Kentucky, they split.
But as Wolf said going in, no big surprise here. Both of these states were safe states, Kentucky for Senator McCain and Vermont for Senator Obama. So, Wolf, that's the why. That's why we have the winners in those 2 states.
All right, guys, thanks very much. I want to take a look at these 2 states right now. Indiana, about 120,000 votes have already been counted in Indiana. 4% of the precincts have now reported. Look at how close it is. 50% for McCain, 49% for Barack Obama. Only a difference of 1,255 votes. So it's close. We don't know which of these precincts have reported yet what part of the states, because some parts of the states are more Democratic than other parts, some more Republican. But it's close with 4% of the precincts now in. As far as Kentucky is concerned, 10% of the precincts have now reported. And Senator McCain, we've projected he's the winner in Kentucky with 52%, 47% for Barack Obama. He's almost 8,000 votes ahead. This is with 10% of the precincts having now reported. So it's still very, very early. But based on the exit polls, based on the real numbers that are actually coming in, we've projected that Kentucky is going for John McCain. Vermont, as we noted earlier, we've projected that Vermont is going for Barack Obama. And we're getting some new numbers right now. Take a look at this. In Virginia, we can now project that Mark Warner, the Democratic former governor of the state, will win, beat Jim Gilmore, the former Republican governor of Virginia. This is a pickup. It's the seat that John Warner, the longtime Republican senator from Virginia, no relation to Mark Warner, has vacated. But Mark Warner, a very, very popular former governor of Virginia, and now Virginia will have a sitting Democratic governor, Tim Kaine, who's long supported Barack Obama, and two Democratic senators, Mark Warner, once he's sworn in, and Jim Webb, who won back in 2006. So that's for a supposedly reliable Republican or red state. That's pretty impressive that now both senators, the incoming senator and the current senator, the incumbent senator, are both Democrats, as well as the sitting governor, Tim Kaine of Virginia. But this is a pickup. It's one more Senate seat that moves the Democrats, Anderson, closer to that 60 filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. Right now they have 61 if you include the two independent senators who have caucused with the Democrats. But this is not a huge surprise, but the Democrats are pretty happy about Mark Warner getting elected in Virginia.
Not a big surprise at all, though, but this race in Georgia, Saxby-Chambliss, also at 7:30, polls close in North Carolina. Elizabeth Dole facing a real challenge, the greatest challenge of her career. Do you think she can hold on tonight?
Well, in the polls that we've seen going through this race all along, she is the decided underdog here. It's not a great year to be a Republican incumbent generally, and she's had some problems in the state. She's running against a very good competitor there. Also in Georgia, Saxby-Chambliss, 5 or 6 weeks ago, he was fine. He was floating to re-election. There was no problem.
What was it? The turning point? The economy?
I think it was the economy. Obama had all about left the state, and then suddenly, when you had the economic turnaround, he started broadcasting commercials in that state, started putting the heat on in that state. Turnout's going to be very important in that state. 29% black electorate.
You get a huge black turnout, and then the Martin folks, they were blown out by it. And Obama came back in, we put more money back in the state, not necessarily to win it, but to help Martin win the Senate seat.
Yeah, from the Obama point of view, if they could win Virginia and they could win the Senate seat in North Carolina and win a Senate seat in Georgia, that would make them look more like a national president as opposed to being a blue state president. So there's a lot riding on this for Obama, how these things come out. In North Carolina, I happen to be from there. Elizabeth Dole and Bob Dole, of course, have been staples of Republican politics for years. They're part of the brand. She made a terrible mistake right at the end. And this was the ad she ran against Kay Hagan, talking about godless money. And Kay Hagan, because she'd gone to a fundraiser held by an atheist. And Kay Hagan happens to be an elder in the Presbyterian Church, who teaches Sunday school. And it backfired on Elizabeth Dole. And it just may help Barack Obama in North Carolina.
But sometimes the candidates themselves matter. Elizabeth Dole was ranked, according to one of these rankings, the 93rd most effective senator. And Kay Hagan made an ad using that fact. And, Elizabeth Dole has made almost no impact as a senator. She's a very famous person, but in 6 years in the Senate, she had very little to point to. She also had only been in the state of North Carolina for 16 days in the year 2005. That's the definition of going Washington. So you can talk about sort of all the national trends, but, she just hadn't really done her job as a senator.
But it could help Obama. Her weaknesses now could help Obama.
Reverse coattails? Yeah.
Again, the body's not cold, but I'd like to point out that the results aren't in. But I spent a lot of time in North Carolina. The problem of constituent service is an issue for Elizabeth Dole. And I think David's point is a really good point. The reason I brought up the Howard Dean thing, and I didn't mean to create chaos here. No, it's all good fun. But that is, are the Democrats a coastal party? Remember those maps? And we'll see maps over the next few days. And we'll see maps of the counties. You remember the red country.
Right.
And then here are the university towns, right? And or the liberal votes and so on. If he gets a Georgia, a North Carolina, Virginia, say he gets 2 out of 3, it changes things very much in terms of people's perception. And also gives him, I know I'm jumping ahead, were he to become president, leverage with liberals in Congress that want to push the party to the left, which is what we're hoping they'll do.
Well, that's something we want to talk about for either candidate, whichever candidate wins, whether it's Barack Obama or John McCain, the question of leading, and will either candidate have a mandate to lead and a mandate for their policies. We're going to talk about that a lot
Yes,
in the hours
of course,
ahead.
of course.
An important thing, not just winning this election, but actually leading this country for both these men, whomever may win tonight. We have a lot more ahead, hours and hours of coverage. CNN.com is the place to go while we're in commercial break. Check out what is happening there. You'll see all the polling that we are getting. You'll see it also on CNN.com. You can pretend to be John King at your home and impress your friends and your family. We'll be right back here on CNN.
Coverage of America Votes 2008 is sponsored by the Society for Human Resource Management, meeting the challenges of a changing world, and by ExxonMobil, taking on the world's toughest energy challenges. Visit the Election Center at cnn.com/election for in-depth information on the candidates.
All right, we're counting the votes. They're coming in here to the CNN Election Center. We're taking a look at Indiana right now. About 7% of the precincts have now reported. This is a key battleground state. Look at how close it is right now. Senator Obama, 50%. Senator McCain, 49%. And you can see we're doing the math for you. 3,434 votes. Obama ahead of McCain right now. More than 200,000 votes have been counted in Indiana. 7% of the precincts are in. 11 electoral votes at stake. In the other key battleground state, the polls have all closed in Virginia right now. About 1% of the precincts are in. Senator McCain with 55% to 44% for Senator Obama. He's ahead by about 2,670 votes. You see, we're doing the math for you here as well. This is very, very early in Virginia. Both Indiana and Virginia, we're not in any position to make any projections for right now. We're watching the votes as they come in, but they're going to be coming in relatively quickly. These are two important battleground states that could set the tone for what could be happening later tonight. I want to show you also some live pictures we're getting in from Grant Park in Chicago. That's where Senator Obama eventually will be showing up, and people are showing up in huge numbers there right now as you can see the crowd getting ready for what they hope. These are Obama supporters in Chicago. They hope it will be an exciting and positive night for them. But you know what? We're going to have to watch these votes actually come in. You saw Jessica Yellen over at Grant Park just a little while ago when we were talking to her. We're going to do something that's never been done on television before. We're going to bring her in from Chicago into the Situation Room, into the CNN Election Center, right now. I want you to watch what we're about to do because you've never seen anything like this on television.
Hi, Wolf.
All right, big round of applause. We did it. There she is, Jessica Yellen. I know you're in Chicago, but we've done something, a hologram. We beamed you in. We beamed you in here into the CNN Election Center. I want to talk to you as I would normally be talking to you if you were really face-to-face with me. I know you're at least 1,000 miles away, but it looks like you're right here. Tell us what's going on in Chicago right now.
Well, there are massive crowds gathered outside here, as you just saw. 65,000 ticketed people are going to be let in, but as many as 1 million are expected to be outside surrounding this Grant Park location. And walking on the streets outside, Wolf, you can feel the intensity, the excitement, the anticipation for what they hope will be a truly historic night. He's their hometown boy here in Chicago, Barack Obama is, and so there's real passion for him in this town, Wolf.
And where is he and his family? Where are they now? Where are they watching all of this? They might be watching us right now on their own monitors, wherever they are.
Barack Obama is at the Hyatt Hotel nearby, where he's going to eventually be watching election returns as well. He played basketball earlier in the day, which has become, an election day tradition for him. And we're expecting him to go home at some point, change, and then watch his election returns and, turn up here eventually to make the much anticipated speech. Well,
you know what I like about this hologram, and you're a hologram now, Jessica, instead of having thousands of people behind you screaming and shouting, you know what? We can have a little bit more of an intimate conversation, and our viewers can enjoy that as well. How excited are you, Jessica, that this is you're the first one that we've beamed in to the CNN Election Center?
I know. It's like I follow in the tradition of Princess Leia. It's something else. It's the first time it's been live on television, and it's a remarkable setup. If I could tell you about it for a moment. I'm inside a tent in Chicago that's been built. Engineers spent about 3 weeks doing it. There are 35 high-definition cameras ringing me in a ring around me. I'm in the center, and they shoot my body at different angles, and I'm told that transmits what looks like an entire body image back there to New York. These cameras, I'm told, talk to the cameras in New York, so they move, and they know when to move when the cameras in New York move, and it looks a little different from a real person there, but it's pretty remarkable.
It's still Jessica Yellen, and you look like Jessica Yellen. We know you are Jessica Yellen. Let's get back to the important politics of this night. What are they looking for right now, the Obama campaign? What are they most interested in seeing in this, the early part of this evening?
Well, what they're going to be looking for, first of all, are those red states that we've been talking about, Virginia, Indiana, to see what the results look like. You've started talking about it, and especially how those late deciders broke. They have a very clear sense of how many people were already on board with them going into today. The big unknown is the people who made up their mind yesterday, today. If there's a high number of late deciders breaking for them in these red states, they feel that will be a very, very good night. And so they're feeling nervous. Everyone I'm talking to, very, very nervous right now, Wolf.
I think a lot of people are nervous out there. All right, Jessica, you were a terrific hologram. Thanks very much. Jessica Yellen is in Chicago. She's not here in New York with us at the CNN Election Center. But you know what? It looked like she was right here. It's pretty amazing technology. Let's take a closer look and see what's going on right now. All the polls in Florida won't close until 8 p.m. At the top of the hour. But a lot of the polls have already closed in Florida, and so they're giving us their numbers so far. Less than 1% of the precincts have reported. Senator McCain slightly ahead. This is very early, 54% to 46%, a difference of 6,575. But as I said, this is very, very early in Florida. We'll see how close this contest is. All the polls in Florida, out in the western part of the state in Pensacola, Panhandle, they're not going to be closed until the top of the hour, so we can't make any projections there. In Indiana, all the polls have closed in Indiana. About 9% of the precincts are now reporting. Senator McCain slightly ahead by 2,276 votes, 50% to 49%. And you can see about 260,000 ballots have already been counted. We're only getting started. More polls are about to close. We're going to continue our coverage from the CNN Election Center right after this. Minutes from now, the polls will be closing in 3 more states, including the battleground states of North Carolina and Ohio, the third state, West Virginia. You take a look at these live pictures, Anderson. These are folks, they're running into Grant Park right now.
They've just opened it up. This is where the Obama campaign has basically set up a giant viewing party. They're going to be watching the election results come in. They've basically just opened up, and literally you see people running to kind of get a good location so they can watch. But Senator Obama is anticipated to speak there at some point this evening.
You know, they've gone through security, and now they're going in there to get a location. These are very, very excited folks that are getting in there. They think they're going to be celebrating. We don't know if they will, but we'll see.
Amazing weather in Chicago tonight. I think I heard Roland say it was like 71 degrees, so 71 degrees. So it's going to be a nice night to view.
But he's really here, Roland. He's not in Chicago. Is he here or is he in Chicago?
We have the actual Roland Martin.
He's actually here. Okay, the real Roland is here, not a hologram. All right, but maybe one of these days, Roland, we'll bring you in, we'll beam you in to the CNN Election Center.
Travel, absolutely.
Roland Martin getting ready. All right, let me walk over to the boards and see what's going on right now. In the key battleground state of Florida, 27 electoral votes. They haven't closed all the precincts in Florida yet, the western part of the state, but the state is already reporting some numbers. You see about 130,000 or so ballots have already been counted. Right now, with less than 1% of the precincts reporting, McCain with 54%, Obama with 46%, 11,137. That's the difference. This year, as you can see, we're doing the math for you, so you don't have to worry about that. In Virginia, where the polls closed at 7 p.m. Eastern, the 2% of the precincts have now reported. McCain ahead, 53% to 46%, but this is very, very early. You see that he's ahead by 4,387 votes. In another battleground state in Indiana, where the polls closed at 7 p.m. Eastern, right now we have McCain with 51% to Obama's 48%. He's up by 8,619, John McCain. That's with 12% of the precincts reporting, 11 electoral votes at stake in Indiana. Let me walk over and bring in Campbell Brown and John King. You know what? I'm excited about what's going on. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but it's just exciting to be able to report about what's going on, Campbell.
Well, we're starting to get some bits and pieces that may help you put the puzzle together eventually, Wolf. And let's go to John for that and take us through. I know you're getting some county by county numbers. Let's start with Virginia. Long a red state. A real race. Obama was ahead going into it, and we're watching especially northern Virginia.
We're watching Virginia, but we have very little right now, Campbell. If you look, we have 2 small rural counties reporting down here just south of Richmond. Chesterfield County has a decent amount of the population, 3.7%. This is suburban Richmond right in the top part. Down here gets pretty rural. But again, very early on, John McCain winning in that one county. That 46% is only of that county, so don't anybody jump right ahead. Most of the state of Virginia is still very white. That means the votes have not come in yet. Campbell County, a very small rural county out here in central to South Virginia. McCain running up the numbers as you would expect in that part of Virginia right there. But we have a long way to go. Down here in Virginia is a critical area, the most critical area of Virginia. Right up here, the northern Virginia suburbs just outside of Washington, D.C. are growing rapidly, and an African-American concentration down in the Richmond area. So Virginia...
Demographics changing a lot in that part, especially northern Virginia.
Rapidly changing up here. Influx of suburbanites who lean Democratic and influx of Latino voters who have been leaning Democratic in most of the polls, too. If you look over here, Campbell, this is getting interesting early. The state of Indiana is starting to fill in more quickly. And I want you to look now at this. This is the state of Indiana with results coming in. And we emphasize and must stress 12%. Long way to go in Indiana. A lot of Democrats in years past would say, can we just stop it right there? If we lose Indiana by 3 points, that would be a great year in the past. The Obama campaign thinks it is in play here. And I want to go back in time to show you why. Excuse me for stepping across, but I'm going to go back to 2004. This is John Kerry versus George W. Bush. And look, 60% to 39%. George W. Bush wins the state. Remember the blue. Indianapolis has a Democratic base. Bloomington is a college town, has a Democratic base. And up here, you're essentially in the Chicago suburbs, closest over here, Gary, Indiana, Hammond, Indiana. And you move across here, there's a Democratic base. Remember now, those are the blue areas. That's where John Kerry did well 4 years ago.
Right.
Now let's fast forward to where we are tonight as we watch the results come in. The Democratic votes have not come in Bloomington yet. In Indianapolis, they're just starting to come in slowly. You see that light green? Nothing at all up here yet. And yet Barack Obama is running a very competitive race in the very early results in Indiana. Why? He's doing well here. This is the Illinois border, southern Illinois. This is conservative rural country. It's his home state, but this is conservative country. If he can run well down here and he can run well over here,
we could have a real surprise.
We could have a real surprise. And let's just look at one other thing before we go here. Fort Wayne, Indiana. You see McCain is winning right now. Let's come into that county. That's Allen County, 5.5% of the state population. McCain is winning 52% to 47%. But one way we judge, is Barack Obama competitive statewide in Indiana? Again, excuse me for stepping across. Let's go back in time. 4 years ago, that was 63-36. So at the moment, Obama is running stronger than the Democrat, even in the counties he is losing. And that is critical. When you're competing in a state that defaults to the other side, Republican in the case of Indiana, yes, you want to win where the Democrats are, as we saw John Kerry do 4 years ago, but you also want to perform as strong as possible in the places the other guy's going to win. Limit the margins, run up the numbers in the Democratic communities, and Barack Obama has a chance in the very red state of Indiana.
And we should say, as always, caveat, still very early. These are very preliminary numbers. We get a lot of information.
12%. That leaves a long way to go. A lot of counting to go.
And yet we can do so much with 12%.
Absolutely.
All right, Wolf.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Let's update you on what we know so far for sure based on our projections. And take a look at this map. The red state, that's Kentucky. We've projected that will go for John McCain, 8 electoral votes. That blue state up in the corner in New England, that's Vermont, 3 electoral votes will go for Barack Obama. These other yellow states, these are states that have closed: Indiana, Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia. But we cannot yet make any projections based on the information we have so far. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be close. It just means that we're in no position to make a projection yet. And right now, it's almost 7:30. Right now, it is 7:30. Right now, 3 more states are closing their polls: North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. And if it were a blowout or whatever, we'd be able to make a projection right now. But we don't have enough information to make any projections in these states. North Carolina is clearly a battleground state. Ohio, remember, no Republican has ever been elected to the White House without carrying Ohio. That state is now closed its polls. And West Virginia, we're going to watch all of that closely. Let's update you on what we know so far. Florida, all the polls in Florida will close at the top of the hour. But as of now, with those precincts, about 1% reporting McCain with 34%, Obama 48%. It's a 39,713 advantage for Barack Obama right now in Florida. We're watching this race closely. Virginia with about 3% of the precincts reporting. McCain with 56%, Obama 44%. It's slightly ahead for McCain right now. In Indiana, with 14% of the precincts reporting, 52% for McCain, 47% for Obama. McCain ahead with 16,812. 14% of the precincts just changed, 52 to 47 in Indiana. I think we're going to have to check those Florida numbers. If something's not looking right, if you add up those percentages in Florida, we'll get back and check those numbers in a moment. But I want to walk over to Anderson. Yeah, those Florida numbers don't look right because it doesn't add up to anything close to 100%. But we'll check out what's going on in Florida. We'll fix the math, and we'll update our viewers as soon as we can.
It's also important to point out to our viewers that where these votes are coming from at this point is very important in terms of, we just saw John King looking at the state of Indiana, some of the areas around Indianapolis, around the Chicago markets we haven't heard from. Again, just important to keep in mind, it is very early hours, but you're already getting emails, David, from some folks saying, are we in for a big surprise tonight?
Well, it's interesting. Some of the Obama folks are sending emails saying, hey, I'm scared. Look what's happening here. It looks like we're in real trouble. But it's important to remember back 4 years ago, for the first hour and a half, we were on here talking about President Kerry, you know, and he was going to celebrate.
Those exit polls.
Well, there was just a lot of signs that it was looking like Kerry, especially the exit polls. And I'd have to say, these are really preliminary. Nobody should draw too many conclusions. Let's get a little more of the night, and we'll settle it. It's way too early to say President McCain looking at these numbers.
But as you look, I mean, I saw you looking at John King's map of Indiana very closely. What were you looking for?
Well, I think that's a much more reliable measure. These raw numbers tell you nothing. But if you look at 4 years ago, what the counties did, and now today, that gives you a much more reliable basis.
And clearly in Indiana, Obama is making inroads in some counties that they were not competitive.
No
Bush won by 21 points. So that's not going to happen. I mean, I think Obama also benefits from the fact that he's a next-door neighbor in Indiana.
Illinois, those counties right on the border.
And they share a big media market there, so they know Barack Obama.
They shipped a ton of people into Indiana. But also, when John showed that southern sector, a lot of folks thought that Obama, when he ran for Senate, was not going to do well downstate. And the reality is he did. And so he did extremely well there. Even when they went to Iowa, folks were saying, yeah, but that's closer to the border. It's a southern border. He won't do well. Chicago is the focus. But he went to those states. He spent that portion of the state, spent lots of time there, and they got to know him. And I think you're seeing the benefit of that being right on the border with Indiana.
If you go back to May 6th, the Indiana primary, where Obama almost beat Hillary Clinton, the key county was Lake County, up in the northwest corner of the state, Gary, where it came in very, very late. Remember, it was a whole chaotic, chaotic situation. But that was the county that almost put Obama over the top.
Nonsensical conversations, I think, between Wolf and the mayor, like, why aren't you reporting? I don't understand.
We have that mayor in a hologram.
We'll get the mayor in a hologram later. I want to talk to some of our analysts back here. I saw James Carville, you work in your phone. I'm not sure who you're talking to. What are you hearing? What are you interested in? What should our viewers right now at this point be looking for?
Well, first of all, the national number is going to determine a lot. But I mean, I think that the big overview here is, there's a recession going on. And that's going to have everything to do with this race. If the Obama national number comports with the public average, which is around 7.5, then he's going to carry a lot of these states. If the national number shrinks to 4 or 3, then a lot of these states that they think they're going to carry, they're not going to do it. I suspect that Indiana, looking at the map, agreeing with what some of our colleagues said over there, a lot of these areas that are not in, or the Democratic areas are not in. I was just on the phone with some people in Virginia. The Democratic areas of Virginia not in, but I suspect a lot of Republican areas either. If you have a big win, you're going to carry a lot of these states are going to come up with it. If it narrows, then you're not going to carry it. Then Obama's not going to carry some of these states he does. I suspect the national number will still be pretty big.
I'll tell you, I think the thing I'm looking for tonight is, one is, I think those gentlemen over there at the table were right, is that if these exit polls are as wrong this year as they were for Kerry, then John McCain's going to carry some states, surprise some people, and we may have a closer race than some of the polls have said. But I'm going to be looking for the silent majority, versus the silent minority. Richard Nixon's silent majority, a group of white working class voters that carried elections for Republicans. Reagan found them, working class Democrats. They're going to go out and vote this year. They're voting for John McCain. But this is a very different country. It's more diverse. And the silent majority may now be smaller, relatively speaking. Maybe the silent minority, it may go Republican, but it may not be enough to elect a Republican president.
And I think Republicans are more hesitant to vote or to speak out, excuse me, in these exit polls to give their opinions. They are very silent voters, and many of these polls do tend to lean more Democrat. I think also we need to look for some of the trends. I know the Obama campaign was looking at the younger voters, and if we see in Kentucky, for example, an overwhelming majority, it looks like early on in some of these numbers, about 80% of young voters, whereas John McCain got some of these in Vermont for Obama, but in Kentucky for McCain, it was the older voters. So I think Obama is relying on some of these younger voters. He even talked about the absentee ballots and the absentee voters, but some of those voters, it looks like, are turning out, seem to be shifting in McCain's direction. So I think they're looking at some of these key voting pockets, and those are, I think, the folks that we need to look at when we're talking about some of these exit polls.
Point out to our viewers, we're looking at real votes right now in these states that have closed. But why does anyone buy these exit polls? Why do we even pay for them if no one even seems to think they're reliable?
I didn't even go to the briefing.
I walked out of the briefing, to be honest.
I didn't even show up. They can be useful post facto if they reweight them to match reality. Then we can know, how did Catholics vote, how did Hispanics vote, how did Asian Pacific Islanders vote. Okay, that's useful post facto. Right. For tonight, I'm looking at real votes. Right. And I'm hearing from people, for example, one thing that's very interesting. Traditionally, for all time, absentee and early voters have been 60% generally Republican. This time, maybe as high as 60% Democratic. Does that presage a much bigger turnout for the Democratic Party? Anecdotally, you keep hearing that, but we don't know until the real votes come in today. In other words, did the Democrats simply shift their votes?
Right, did the people who are going to vote anyway just vote early?
Right.
Or do we have, if it's a big vote for everybody, does that negate the Obama advantage? Is he just filling a glass that's already full? If everybody votes, then, hey, Republicans may have had a good turnout operation, too. We just didn't know it.
It's interesting watching on this big board over here, the pictures from Grant Park in Chicago, where thousands of people clearly have already gathered. You see a lot more people coming in as they get in through security. We are watching them as they are watching us right now. We got a lot more ahead. Let's go back to Wolf right now, Wolf.
All right, guys, thanks very much. I want to update our viewers on what we know right now. These are not exit poll numbers. These are real numbers, real ballots that already have been counted and have been released by these respective states. In North Carolina right now, less than 1% of the precincts have reported. Right now, Senator McCain with 48%, Senator Obama with 51%, only a 439 vote advantage for Senator Obama. But remember, it's very, very early in this race, 15 electoral votes in North Carolina. Florida, we fixed the technical problems we had. These are the latest numbers coming in from the state of Florida. 2% of the precincts reporting Obama ahead, 57% to McCain's 43%. That's 151,000 advantage for Barack Obama. You can see we're doing the math for you to make it relatively easy. Those are 27 electoral votes in Florida at stake. All of the polls in Florida will be closed at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Eastern. In Indiana right now, almost 20% of the precincts have closed. That's a significant number. McCain ahead slightly, 51% to 48% for Barack Obama. 17,000 just changed, 406 votes difference and advantage for Senator McCain in Indiana. And the popular vote right now, with about 1% of the precincts reporting nationally in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, the numbers that have come in so far. Right now, Obama with 51%, McCain with 48%. It's a 64,251 advantage for Senator Obama. About 2 million votes have already been counted nationally, but it's very, very early in the process. If you want to get all these numbers in real time right now, go to CNN.com. A lot of information there. You can plug in the contests that are of most and greatest interest to you, and you can be updated constantly throughout this night. We'll take a quick break. We'll continue our coverage from the CNN Election Center right after this. election night in America, and we're here at the CNN Election Center. We want to welcome back our viewers in the United States and around the world. Let's update you on what we know. These are real numbers coming in to the CNN Election Center in Florida, key battleground state. All the polls aren't even closed in Florida yet. They'll be closing at the top of the hour in the western part of the state. But right now, 4% of the precincts have already reported in. As you can see, Senator Obama ahead 55% to 45%. He's ahead by 143,000 votes so far. North Carolina, under 1% of the precincts reporting. Senator Obama slightly ahead there. It's very, very early in North Carolina, 50% to 49%, 15 electoral votes at stake there. In Indiana, significant number of precincts already have reported 21%, and Senator McCain slightly ahead, 51% to 48%. He's ahead by 16,239 votes, 11 electoral votes in Indiana. And in Georgia, only 1% of the precincts have reported. Senator McCain has 70% so far to Senator Obama's 29%. We're watching Georgia closely. It has 15 electoral votes. I want to go to Suzanne Malveaux. She's in Chicago at Grant Park. She's standing by. Let's go to Suzanne. Suzanne, you got a crowd over there. These are pretty excited folks. Set the scene for us. What's going on?
Absolutely, Wolf. They are actually listening to our broadcast here in Grant Park.
Suzanne, it was a brilliant live shot. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear a word you were saying. That crowd around you is so powerful. Maybe we could get a handheld mic for Suzanne Malveaux, because I really want to hear what's going on. But unfortunately, that crowd is so enthusiastic. You really can't blame them. They sense that maybe history will be made tonight. Suzanne, stand by. We're going to get you a better microphone so we can hear what you're saying in Grant Park in Chicago. You see the folks there. They've gathered and they're pretty excited, but you can't compete with that level of noise, no matter how loud a voice you have. Suzanne, stand by for that. Anderson, I've got a pretty powerful voice. I don't think I could compete with that.
We've all done live shots where you have like 10 people behind you, like doing that, but they have a crowd of like thousands of people behind them who are watching her on TV, and so everybody is doing it. It makes the hologram all that more effective.
She was brilliant, wasn't she?
She was very good. I thought what she said, from what I could tell by the reading of her lips.
Great suit.
Yes. But that's it shows the benefit of the hologram, though. You don't have any of those crowds. We'll try to beam maybe Suzanne in a little bit. In terms of what the crowds, though, are going to be watching for tonight, what should viewers be anticipating in the next, it's now 10 to 8. What should we be anticipating the next half hour, an hour? When do you think we're going to get some real numbers?
I think we'll get Virginia. Virginia's been pretty good about reporting pretty early, Anderson. And, of course, Ohio is another big state. This is a true toss-up. We've talked about Indiana being a toss-up, Ohio a toss-up.
I should also point out the polls close in Pennsylvania in about 10 minutes from now at 8 o'clock. Right. Pennsylvania, the McCain campaign, correct me if I'm wrong, David, they have been saying they have to win in Pennsylvania.
It's a must-win for them. There's so many ways Obama gets the 270 if Obama wins Pennsylvania. And we do know that there was some closing there, but it was still about a 7-point race, 5-point race coming into the final day. So it would be an upset for McCain to win Pennsylvania, but if he doesn't win Pennsylvania, it's very, very hard to see.
Bill Bennett, do you believe these polls? When you hear it was 7 points in Pennsylvania, you don't buy it?
I don't believe them. We'll see. But we're waiting. You're asking when we'll know. I don't know, but my feeling is pretty soon, and then it's going to flow fast. I think we're going to know a lot pretty soon. We're going to know 3 or 4 or 5 states, but I don't buy them. And I've asked the same question you've asked about the exit polls, but.
Why buy them?
Why even bother?
So many caveats, that, and they're tricky because everybody wants to jump to a conclusion.
Well, you look at the exit polls in New Hampshire during the primaries. First of all, you look at the polls before New Hampshire, Barack Obama was supposed to walk away with it. You look at the exit polls, Barack Obama was in the lead. Hillary Clinton won.
But actually, New Hampshire, if you look at the polls indicated New Hampshire, what Obama eventually got, the polls showed that. What John Edwards eventually got, the polls showed that. What the polls do not take into account all of a sudden an explosive number of voters, and it does not account for people deciding on the day of.
We stopped polling in New Hampshire 4 days before the primary and before Hillary Clinton had her nomination.
One thing that was consistent throughout the primaries was that Obama did better in the exit polls than he did with the voters. And I think that's an important...
What does that tell you?
Late breakers.
I don't know what it tells me, but I just have a theory.
It tells you that the Bradley effect seemed to have died earlier. That, in other words, the Bradley effect said that the black candidate would do worse in the actual voting than he would do in the last polls. And in the primaries this year, Barack Obama actually came out about 3.3% higher on average across all the states.
Polls, he did worse.
Well, the exit polls are strained. I think Bill Bennett put it exactly right. How do we figure out if these exit polls are off 3 or 4 or 5 points, as they were with John Kerry? What is it we're looking at?
Well, some pollsters say that his supporters, Barack Obama's supporters, are so enthusiastic and younger, and they're more willing to stop and talk to somebody after they've voted.
Again, it all just makes the exit polls seem. But most importantly, though, what we are looking at now is real numbers.
Yes.
We've got real numbers from 7 o'clock, from 7:30. In about 7 minutes from now, we're going to have real numbers from Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, Florida, Pennsylvania. The polls will be closing in all those states. Our coverage continues. A lot more ahead. A very exciting night ahead. Also, check out CNN.com for all the latest political news and get the numbers as we get them. We'll be right back.
Final numbers and final analysis of the campaigns. American Morning tomorrow.
And welcome back to the CNN Election Center. We're getting close to the top of the hour. Anderson, 15 states and the District of Columbia, they'll be closing their polls in a few moments.
And a fascinating state to watch, of course, Pennsylvania, a state which the McCain campaign has said they have to win.
And it's a Democratic state, but they've made an enormous effort in Pennsylvania to see what they can do. Let's walk over and see the states that are closing in 6 minutes and a few seconds. Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, the District of Columbia, Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. These states closing in about 6 minutes. We'll see what we can project at the top of the hour. Pennsylvania, I don't think we can stress that too much, Campbell and John. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens there, because almost everyone says if John McCain can't carry Pennsylvania, he'll have a tough challenge ahead of him.
One to keep a very close eye on. But, Wolf, we want to mention we are getting some interesting numbers. If you look a little bit deeper at some of the states from earlier, Indiana and Florida, John has been looking at. And again, we should say always, the caveat here is that this information is so early yet. But there's some interesting trends, especially if you compare it to 2004. Look at Indiana.
Early, but some is telling. And you notice we're filling in more. We're up to 26% in the state of Indiana now. We were at 12 last time we talked. So the results are starting to come in. And some of it is pretty telling. Number one, Indianapolis, you expect Barack Obama to do well here. There is a small but significant African-American community in the city of Indianapolis, 56 to 43%. I want to go back in time 4 years ago just to double check that against how John Kerry did in Indianapolis, 51 to 49. So right now, Barack Obama is running ahead of where John Kerry ran in Indianapolis. That's one way a Democrat can be competitive. Now, let's come back to 2008 and look at some of these other counties. Again, this is a huge Democratic area up here. We have absolutely nothing so far in Gary and Hammond and Lake County, right up along the Chicago suburbs. That's one place. This is a conservative Democratic area down here. That's a place you want to watch. But, Campbell, one of the things you look at are the margins within the conservative counties, and I'm just going to hit one randomly. And I'm going to say here in, I'm not even going to try that one, Kosciuszko County, it's 1.2% of the population. Look at this, 66% right now for McCain, 33% for Barack Obama. That's a big McCain lead in that county. Well, let's go back in time and just see. How did the Democrat run in that county last time? 21%. So Barack Obama is running ahead of where Kerry ran in these rural areas. Noble County, you come back over, 69 for Bush, 30% for Kerry. Let's come back in time here. Fast forward in 08.
Wow.
And again, Barack Obama is running ahead of where John Kerry ran in the rural areas. And so Barack Obama is not going to win most of these counties out in rural Indiana. But right now, looking at the early results, he's running well ahead of John Kerry, which is critical. Keep the Republican margins down out in the rural areas and then run up the numbers in Indianapolis, which at the moment he is doing. Another key area, college campus, is huge for Barack Obama. South Bend, Indiana, We know it is there, the University of Notre Dame.
Right.
It's a Catholic county, St. Joseph County there. Barack Obama right now running ahead of John McCain there significantly, and 82% of the vote is in here. So this is almost done here. 59% for Barack Obama in this county. One more check back in time, and you see George W. Bush carried this county 4 years ago by a narrow margin, but Barack Obama, again, outperforming John Kerry, and in some of these counties, even outperforming George W. Bush. Still a long way to go as we watch that. But at the moment, if you're the Obama campaign, even though at the moment McCain is leading in the state, if you're the Obama campaign right now, you are very encouraged.
And a lot to keep an eye on here in Gary, as you said, which
Yes.
is generally Democratic in Evansville. We got a projection, so let's throw it back to Wolf, and we'll come back and do Florida in a minute. Wolf?
All right, Campbell, here we go. CNN now projects that South Carolina and its 8 electoral votes will go to Senator McCain, even though he's down with 1% of the precincts reporting. Based on the information that we have, the exit polls, as well as other information coming into the CNN Election Center, John McCain, as expected, will carry South Carolina and its 8 electoral votes. That, as I said, was fully expected. We're getting ready, by the way, the top of the hour. Several states are going to be closing, 15 states and the District of Columbia. Here's what we have right now. If we add up the red states, Kentucky and South Carolina, that adds up to 16 electoral votes so far for John McCain. Vermont up in New England has 3 electoral votes. We've projected it will be going for Barack Obama. Those yellow states are still up in the air. We don't have enough information to make a projection in those states right now. There you see the states that will be closing in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. We will have projections at the top of the hour in 2 minutes in these states. 15 states and the District of Columbia at 8 p.m. Eastern will be closing, and we'll be watching very closely to see what's going on. Anderson, as we wait another minute or so before the polls close in these 15 states and D.C., I think all of us are going to be looking forward to seeing what we can do and what we can say about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, as we said before many times, the McCain campaign says they have to win the state of Pennsylvania. Jeff Toobin, if you can, try to explain to our viewers, we just saw South Carolina. We're calling for John McCain, even though on our board, with 1% of the votes in, McCain is down to Barack Obama. How is it that we can project a winner in South Carolina?
Well, our exit polls cover the whole state, and we know the history of the whole state. And when there is such a substantial margin in the exit polls, that we are confident that when all the votes come in, one candidate will be ahead, then we feel comfortable making a call. But the key point is we never make a projection in a state that is remotely close if all we have is exit polls.
So
we wait for the
votes. It's not
votes.
a surprise that John McCain would win in South Carolina.
Exactly.
It was not
so
a
it's
competitive campaign
right.
in that. We will never make a projection in a state based on exit polls if it's at all likely to be
Under
close.
a minute until polls close.
Sure, what you're looking for to see the actual vote in 2 or 3 places actually seem to confirm what you're getting in your exit poll. If they're close together and it's a landslide, then you can go ahead and call it. But if it's fairly close, as Jeff said, even if you get some numbers, you want to wait and an abundance of caution. CBS had called, for example, South Carolina just a bit ago, and I think CNN waited and was patient. And there's always this question in every news organization how to do this.
Polls closing in just a matter of seconds in a number of states. Let's go back to Wolf.
And